Says it's starting, and I think we're live, everybody.
We are live.
Welcome. Let me start it up. Now, I'll warn you ahead of time. I had an eye exam about 4 hours ago, so I got crazy crystal meth eyes. I definitely will not be able to read your comments tonight. So.
Yes, I had that done years ago. My wife's cousin is an eye doctor, and it was the first time I had my eyes dilated. And whatever, it's done. And he left me in the room for a little while, and I'm looking at the pictures on the wall, and I'm trying to focus, and then I realized I can't focus on them. So I got up and looked at them, and as I looked closely at them, I started getting dizzy. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Then I looked into the mirror, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I was all pupil when I got home. And, I had my glasses on through dinner, so I looked really cool during dinner tonight.
You must have been freaky.
Yeah, I was. So tonight's, and, nothing's better than having dizziness and dilated things than a nice nitro milk stout.
Oh, jeez, yeah, that'll fix it.
This fixes everything.
I think, Patrick, I got to get another ink thing for this.
Oh, really?
The stamper, I think.
I think you've been stamping.
Oh, I've been stamping. See, the thing is, I've been going back into the collection.
Oh.
And that's a lot to stamp.
To go along?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot it's a lot to stamp. So, but this thing is, I love it.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, you can just go by if you type in Amazon the name of the company.
Yeah. I'll do that.
Oh my gosh, that smells great. Look at that. Looks like. No, is
That's
that
really
beer, or did I change the oil in my truck?
I know. It looks kind of like soda.
It's going to oil me up good.
Oh, man. So, educate me on beer. The darker is, what is the flavor?
Oh,
okay.
So stouts usually have like a kind of a chocolatey coffee flavor to them, where ales will have more of a hoppy flavor to them. Ales are also higher in alcohol content, and they're typically clearer. They're probably my least favorite. I like stouts the best, and then probably a lager. Lager is more of an amber, and it has more of a wheat flavor to it.
Okay. Oh, you're such a beer connoisseur, aren't you?
I actually have several books on it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to collect cans.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, like beer cans?
Beer cans. I had hundreds of them. I had them from all over the world.
Wow, that's interesting.
Well, I ended up not keeping them. I think I traded them for comic books, actually. There was a kid down the street, and what was weird is he was a beer cap collector, but then he got into cans when he saw I had them. And what was even stranger, I think he was the preacher's son.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of, I don't know if his mom knew he had like a little fort in the woods that he kept his collection. I don't think he was allowed to bring that stuff into the house.
So I wonder if he kept other things there.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I found it years later, and no one had been in it because they had moved away. But I think I did trade him either for football cards or comic books. I know the beer can collection went to good use. It was before returns, so
very nice.
Boy, we got 18 people on already.
Oh wow, cool. So who's on?
Christopher Joyce says high octane IPAs can be like ethanol. He's right. I'm not a huge fan of IPA at all. There's something about it. I don't like the aftertaste. I don't like the way it rolls off. Anyway, I like stouts. They're my jam. We got Metarog here. Hello. I started his video, and then I was interrupted by a rude FedEx guy this afternoon, so I didn't get to finish. I actually had to work. Joker 68. There he is.
Hey, Kurt.
Todd Hobeck. He's here. There's Rags. He's in. Who else we got? We already said Hobeck. I see Discovery Bay. Sorry about the description. I think I got to shorten the description so he can get that off a little easier. DS Comics is here. Chris Winsky. Who else is here? Silver Age Dave. Hey, Dave.
Silver Age Dave.
Crack your Bud Light yet? You can have a drink with me. For several Bud Lights. He's been going live like crazy. He's unstoppable with the live streaming lately. He had a huge crowd, too. The other day, I think he had close to 50 people at lunchtime. John Valenzuela. I always want to say Venezuela, but it's not Venezuela. It's Venezuela. Maurice is here. Hey, Maurice. Maurice. There's also a Maurice D, and I don't think it's the same guy. And Maurice D only watches my CGC openings.
Oh, I don't know.
And that's the only time I hear or I see him comment, and I don't think it's Maurice Devereaux. So, anyway, what else happened? Oh, I did a short 2-minute or tried to do 2-minute Tuesday. It's something I think I'm going to do every Tuesday. So I figured sometimes whenever you're thinking about doing a video, you just get wrapped around the axle about what am I going to make it about, and is it going to can I make it long enough and interesting enough? So I'm just going to jump on, and it's going to be a 2-minute check-in every Tuesday. And
yeah, I saw that. Or I mean, I didn't see the video. I saw that you posted it. I still have to check it out.
Yeah.
So
just a quick hitter, and
I saw you with a bag in your hand. So I've
yeah, that was an interesting show. I mean, if you were a toy collector, it must have been pure heaven for these people. And
well, I saw some of the things you got.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Some of the 2 books I got, and I think it was Todd Hoback. He wanted a hint, and I told him they're both pre-1968 books. So, and they're both covers by Kirby. So that's all the clues I'm going to give everybody. But I have taken before and after, or before pictures. I haven't given them the mic to clean or press yet, but I've given them a quick cleaning. So. They're good. And the other thing that I didn't know at the time I filmed that is they had a auction, or not an auction, a raffle. So the one table I bought, for every $10 you spent, you got a raffle ticket. So they threw it in this big jug and whatever. Well, Sunday night he gives me a phone call. I won a copy of Sandman #1, Jack Kirby.
Nice.
So, yeah, I would say it's probably a 9.4, maybe a 9.6. Really nice copy. I had a 9.6 slab that I sold, and I still have, I think, 2 9.4s. So, I mean, it's just that little toy show was really fun for me. I saw, I think, 3 full-size Millennium Falcons, which that's like the holy grail, right, for Star Wars collectors?
I would imagine.
These things they're bigger than manhole covers.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're gigantic. And I saw Joker 68 was asking about it, but I saw hundreds of new in box, still on the card, original dozen Star Wars characters from 1977. So those get anywhere between $500 and $1,200.
I think one of the most expensive ones, and I don't know which line it's from, is the Jawa with the vinyl cape.
Yeah,
for the collectors that collect the original toys.
It's funny, you know what? I think I have that, and every time I say that, Knights of Old goes crazy because he wants to buy the Star Wars toys.
Yeah,
I have not dug them out yet though.
Yeah, I remember my friend Joe. He had everything. I was never big into Star Wars as a kid, so I would go over to his house and I would see the Ewok village up on the shelf and a lot of his other toys, and they were always Star Wars fans. Yeah. So yeah, I remember seeing some of those. But from what I gathered, one of the most expensive ones is the Jawa with the vinyl cape. Now I don't know if it's from Empire or wherever.
I know I had that. I had one of the Sand People with the cape on. I had R2D2. I had Luke.
But do you know what the most? But do you know what any Star Wars toy collector of that line? Do you know what the most elusive one is and the rarest one that people would kill for?
There's only prototypes.
There are a few of them out there. Not that never went on shelves.
There's one guy that has 2 of them too, because I watched the Toys That Made Us on Star Wars. And
so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he has 2 of them in his collection, and
they must have cost. What did he say they cost him? I think in the name.
He didn't say.
I think
he said it was at least 10 grand, I think.
Yeah.
And one of them functions, so it's Boba Fett with the launcher.
There were 2 types, one with a J back and one I think more with an L back. Whatever, right? Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, where's that Beyond the Blast Doors guy? He knows all about this stuff.
He should.
Yeah.
It should be right up his alley if he's a figure collector.
That's a good beer. I'm going to be sad to see the bottom of that glass.
You got to get another. You got to.
Vision's getting better.
Yeah, I don't know about that. You have to get another beer.
Yeah. So, did you buy anything this week?
I sure as hell did.
Nice. I don't even know what it is, so I guess
I didn't tell you yet. I didn't tell Mike yet. I told my local guy, the comic book. He's my local comic book shop owner, but he's really my friend. I told him about it. Some people on Instagram know what it is. I mean, I didn't show the picture of it, but I showed a little portion of it, and those that they know exactly what it is. but it's not going to be seen in a video. It's not going to be seen in a video until August.
Okay.
So.
All right.
But you'll see it. You'll see it way before.
You know of one particular book that I kind of have.
I do.
Some stuff in mechanizations and emotions. We'll see what happens.
So let me ask you.
It's going to be fantastic.
Let me ask you this though. I'm not going to reveal what it is.
Yeah.
But now you say that you want to be in person to purchase that.
Correct.
For now I know why, but for the audience, when it comes to making a big purchase, big comic book purchase, what is the value? And some of this is common sense, but explain it upon the way you feel. What is the purpose of being there in person?
Well, there's two things. If it's somebody that I buy from or I've bought from before, like say, like a Leroy or Reese's Comics or somebody like that, if I knew they had a book, or Bob Storm, somebody like that, I trust those guys. The guys Ted at Superworld, any of those, Harley Yee, any of those guys had a book, I would buy it from them. Just looking at photos. Okay. Now, if it's on eBay or somewhere else that Instagram or whatever, my limit really is around $500. I won't spend on a raw book, that is, more than $500 on a raw book unless I can hold it in my hands. I want to count the pages. I want to look at the staples. I want to look for raised ink so I can see if it's been color touched. I want to check for trimming. There's just a whole series of stuff that I would, rifle through. And this book in particular is going to be north of probably 10 grand. So I definitely want to look at it in person. There's no way I'm just going to somebody I've never met. And yes, you're safe on eBay, but it's a hassle for anyone.
Yeah, imagine if you spent that kind of money and then you found out that it was restored or it had some level of restoration. Yeah. How deep would how quickly, I should say, would your heart sink into your stomach?
Oh yeah, you'd be sick. I mean, you'd be sick over it.
It would sink into my stomach and then come right back out of my mouth.
Well, especially because even if, say, you had a lot of money, what I've done to build this amount of money up is, I've spammed it on my channel. I've been selling a lot for the last 2 years, and it's a lot of effort. You go to shows and like I'll sell a box of books and I get, a couple $1,000s together, and I'll go buy a bunch of Silver Age books, like say 10 Silver Age books, $200 a piece, and then I clean and press, and me and Mike do the whole thing, and I get them back, and then I sell those and make more profit, and then I buy more books, and this whole thing's been going on now for better part of 2 years, going on 3 years. So to lose out like that, that would be crushing.
Yeah, it's devastating. It would be devastating. I know how I would feel if the deal went south. Like, and well, not necessarily the deal went south, but if the whole thing went south. Like you purchase something and oof.
Yep.
So that's the purpose of checking, want to be in person, checking the book. You always count the pages. Now, I have a comic book haul coming up next week, and I talk about exactly that when it comes to counting the pages. And I'll give you a little preview of it.
Someone asked about page count here. Best place. I usually go to comic, I can't remember the name, it's CPR, something like that. It's a comic pricing. It's a free site. You just have to register. And it gives a little synopsis, and it tells how many pages are in it. That's what I use.
Yeah. You should always have your resources on like what you just said, finding out how many pages. Most of the time, but not all the time. So there are exceptions. A lot of the Silver Age books, even some of the Golden Age books, you count 8 pages to the centerfold and 8 pages after the centerfold. 8 pages being, single pieces of paper, not ads included, and that will usually. That's usually accurate, but you have to still do your homework. You cannot just simply rely on that.
No, you can't. Especially, it's obviously a giveaway if it says 80-page giant on the front. You should have 40 on one side of the staple and 40 on the other. So
it's like, it must have had so many extra pages. It's only supposed to be 16 in here.
Some of the Golden Age books, so I think they counted the covers as pages. You have the off brands.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things that you really it's a lot of research. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and sometimes. If you're gonna, and it sounds like I don't have time for that. Well, I don't know. If you saw $300 laying on the ground, would you pick it up?
But what I wanted to get into is about counting the pages. Once you have all your information, all that stuff, what's what. Always count the pages because. I made that mistake years ago of not checking the book at this famous store in New Jersey. And they had the nerve to sell a book for full price and not even write anything on the
Oh,
on the book saying, okay, it's this or
they
it's
didn't
that.
used to have a TV show, did they?
No. It's not. It's not Comic Book Men.
Yeah.
It's another famous comic book store in New Jersey that everyone says, "Oh, I want to check that booth out," or "Oh, I want to go see them."
Yeah.
Yeah, you better check those books because
Don't say
and I say it in the video. That guy, those good prices, he ain't giving anything away for free.
No. Yeah.
So that's my preach. That's my little sermon for the day.
No, you're right. It sounds silly, and I saw it happen in front of me. There was an old Detective Comics. I think it was Mike will remember this. It was one of the Buffalo shows. I don't know if it was PowerCon or if it was Flower City Con or Queen City Con, something like that. And we watched the guy count, and I think he got it. It was 28. So I think a full something was missing.
Yeah.
So it kind of quashed the deal, and it was a good thing too because the guy was asking thousands of dollars for this book. And I think sometimes what happens is a lot of these dealers, they'll go buy from another dealer before the show starts, and then they don't have time or they don't think about it. They don't count the page. So for all you know, these things could have happened 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and that's that. And to be fair, excuse me. And to be fair, sometimes accidents happen.
Yeah.
It could just be one of those things. But no matter what the case, count the pages.
Count your pages.
And make sure no coupons or pinups are clipped out.
Yeah, look for someone's grocery list on the last page. It's silly stuff. Crushed bugs. That's a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Crushed bugs.
Some of the things you don't think about.
Well, I got a copy of Defenders 1, and I didn't look at it. It was one of the only books this guy that I bought from. It's the Peacock guy. That raised peacocks. I was up in his attic, and I was afraid he was gonna, silence the lambs me. But he,
he's probably thinking
yeah, it was one of the few books that I got that was boarded, and I didn't even look at it. I get it out, I lift it, I'm all excited because this is back in like '93. I didn't have, and I turn it over, and there's a big freaking Coke can stain on the back, just a perfect Coke can ring. I'm like, son of a bitch, I mean, back then I paid up for that book. I paid $20 for that book.
Oh, look at you!
I actually saw the guy later, and he kind of made it right. He didn't give me the money back, but he made it right. So it happens. There's Brian Spaceboy. I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, that is true. The accidents do happen.
Brian, I'm going to get my rig set back up. Right now I had to take it down again and get my basement finished. When that gets all done, the Macintosh is coming back out and the turntable, and I got a new preamp I'm kind of excited about. So I'll do a little video on it. It'll be boring to most of you comic book people, but there's a few record collectors out there that probably love seeing it. And then I'm going to do the shaky throw-up camera again. I'll probably do a couple videos on the Power Records series. So that'll be big fun, I think, for me. I love looking at those things. I love that old nostalgia. Anyway, all right.
So let's go on to some of the things that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so the topic you first brought up to me.
Oh yes.
Trying to explain yourself.
Yeah, we should have like a little booming voice for this segment. Explain yourself. In any variation, want to talk about some best want list purchases or best want list wants. For 2019. And we could even expand into years past, some of the things that we bought that we were amazed that we were able to get, or so happy to get, or maybe even to change things up after a while, some of the things that we regretted getting. We could take this topic wherever we want to go, but let's start out with its original incarnation of some of the best want list purchases so far, or best want list purchases that we're looking forward to maybe getting this year.
Okay.
Because we all have those want lists, right? Sometimes they're top 10s, sometimes they're top 12s, sometimes they're top 25.
I didn't publish one this year. I kind of shared with you some of the books I'm looking for, and it's really like a dozen books that I want right now. And I've kind of said I'm not going to buy anything else unless I get these books. Not anything else I'll buy or for investment, but well, you know what they are.
I do. I have to think back to some of them, of course, but I know the one that you're chasing in particular is definitely a big one. Definitely one that I think anybody would like to have in their collection, and not many people will get because of what it is, despite it being readily available.
Yes, it's plentiful. You just got to man up for it.
That's the thing.
Well, put your big boy pants on.
Put your big boy pants on, shut up, stop crying, and do
it. Bite down on the stick.
Yeah, bite down on the stick while we saw your leg off.
Yeah, Civil War surgery.
You got some of that. You got some of that stout left.
I'll need to spike it with something. Chase it with a little vodka.
You're gonna have to put some alcohol, real strong alcohol in it.
Yeah. So what's first on your list?
When it comes to which one though, like what I already purchased.
What's your top book this year? You're looking to get?
Well, the top one is Amazing Spider-Man 1, but it's not going to happen this year. You never know. That's true.
Charlotte's coming.
I don't. I don't think it's going to happen this year. If it doesn't happen this year, it will quietly move into 2020.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it is. I don't think I ever completed a top 10 or top 12 list. There was always like a book or two that I
thought about that when you asked the question, and maybe I made my list too easy because I've always got them. I've always got everything on there, except for the one time where I took Miss Marvel off the list. Because once that started to get silly to me, I had a nostalgia feeling about Miss Marvel. And you showed some of the books today, and one of them, 17, is one of my favorite covers.
Oh yeah.
It's just so raw, and she's just like mangled, and her suit's all ripped up, and she's about to get her probably killed. It's just a powerful cover, and I just remembered at the time there wasn't really any female superheroes. I mean, you had Wonder Woman, but back then in the 70s, it was very silly because of the TV show and everything like that. So
yeah,
it wasn't hardcore like it is now.
Yeah.
But so yeah, this year one of the books that's kind of elusive for me, and it's not just it's out there. It's just that I want to find the right copy, and it's Suspense Story 16.
And what is that?
It's the one where the guy's throwing his girlfriend off the roller coaster.
Oh, crime suspense stories.
Yeah.
Or shock. Is it
shock suspense stories? That's what it was called.
I thought. Oh yeah. Shock suspense stories. I'm like, oh.
And I want to find the right copy. And then the other one I want is another EC book. It's the last one actually. It's got the werewolf on the cover.
Tales 46.
Tales 46, and then the last one is Vault 26, and that's where you have the the manhole cover.
Oh, okay.
Being like a 1930s car going around the corner.
Yeah.
I love that cover.
I think that's Graft and Concrete.
Is that?
I think that's the name of the story.
Yeah.
Cover story. Yeah.
And those three in particular, I kind of look for, but either they're destroyed and the guy still wants $400 for them, or they're like 4 5s and somebody wants $2,000 for them. So
yeah.
I don't know. I love them, or I like them. I guess I don't love them, but those are three of the books that are on this year's list that if I could get them, that'd be great. And they're going to be high on my list when I'm in Charlotte. I think if I go like to Dale Roberts, somebody like that.
I'm pretty sure Dale Roberts will have at least one of those.
Yeah. I still regret not getting the one with the zombie where his head's kind of coming apart.
Oh, Tales 37?
Yeah.
That's another one.
Did you end up getting that or no?
No, not me. That's another one that's expensive.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, the ECs are pricey, but there are some in certain lines, like Tales from the Crypt line, that edge out over the others. The Tales 46 being one of them, since it's the last issue. It's supposedly scarce, and it's got a nice cover.
It does.
The 37 is another one that's classic. It's expensive, and so forth and so on. Dale Roberts did have that, and Mike was considering buying it. I remember, but I think it was too low grade for him.
Yeah, I think all three of us at one point had it in our hands.
Yeah. Eventually, I'd like to get. I mean, I want to get all the Tales from the Crypt ones.
That's a great run.
Yeah, I'm about 11 away, I think, from completing it.
That's good because that tells me something. Because you said you were 13 a few weeks ago. So
yeah. Yeah, it seems to keep going down. It's going along nicely, but those are some great books, Patrick.
Yeah. So what's on your list this year then?
That I would like to get, that I'm really looking forward to? Well, I sort of already just got it, but I can't really give too many details on it just yet.
I do know one book that you wanted, but I didn't think that one was on your list.
One book that I wanted that's on my list. Well, tell me, what was it?
15.
15. Crime Patrol 15.
Yeah.
That was on my book last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Crime Patrol 15. That wasn't on the list last year though.
Okay, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
It was kind of a surprise when that happened.
I wanted it, but I didn't think I was going to find it.
Well, yeah.
You know, I mean, like, that's just rare. That's one of the things that I will go to a con and hopefully see, not something that just comes up. But there are a couple on eBay if people are interested in getting Crime Patrol 15. They're 3.0s.
Well, I did. I just saw one, and it's a nice looking copy. I don't know if you saw it. It just showed up yesterday.
Yeah, there was one in auction, I think, that ended yesterday, and there are 2 others, 3.0s. So if you're interested in getting the first Crypt Keeper, and you like the price, now it's the time to get it. And there's another one that's on sale for $1,200, but it's missing pages or something like that.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No. That's a no-go for me. I don't do the
unless it's for $200. Then
even then, or if it's like the end, like it's a backup story you don't care about. Yeah. That brings me to another thing too about counting pages. Don't always assume that CGCs are good. I know I sent you and Nick an email earlier. Yeah. There was a comic book on Comic Link that's ending tonight, and I was given serious consideration to bid on it because the front cover was beautiful. So I messaged them, and they got back to me around 4 o'clock, I think it was. And the back cover is filthy. I mean, filthy. It looks like snow, like that grayish snow melt.
Yeah,
that's what the back cover looks like.
Yeah,
and
I saw it.
Top cover, there's like a 2-inch by 3-inch chunk missing off the back cover. So it's Nick said it's the old get rid of the bad back cover on Comic Link special, because a lot of times Comic Link won't show the back pages, and people just say, oh, a 2.0. Oh, look how pretty that cover is.
They're buying the
2.0, and the cover looks great. After they ask for the picture.
Yeah, they're buying the number, not the book. Yeah. They see that number. Oh, it doesn't matter. Buy the book, not the number.
Sell the grade.
Sell the grade. That's good advice. That's good advice. But other than the one that I just purchased, which I'm going to be a little hush hush about, like I said, Amazing Spider-Man 1's on there, but I don't think so, because I'd much rather have the other 9 that are on there than that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, I totally do.
Amazing Spider-Man 1, like a 3.0. What is that? $7,000?
Yeah.
$6,000. I'm like, not right now.
No, not right now.
But
it's the thing that I know we talked about before. These books they're like satellites. They're always in orbit.
Yeah.
You gotta wait for your chance, and you reach up and you grab it, and sometimes it happens. I mean, if you think of your Hulk #1, you really weren't hunting for that, but it presented itself. It was a good deal, and when are you going to see that book again like that?
Yeah, and it's not something Hulk 1 for me, at least. It wasn't one of those books that I was going to say I was going to eventually get, But it popped up. I was okay with the restoration, and I liked the book, and it's still in my collection, and it's going to be in my collection for a very long time. No problems with it. Other people may have problems with it, but that is their problem.
Yeah, exactly. Those are their problems. So, as far as other books that I think I got really lucky on, as far as good, I had ASM 101 on my list. And if you remember, I bought it the day before all that big news broke all over the internet. And I got that copy, believe it or not, for $40 in an auction. And it's a beautiful copy. So.
But that book has been in that price. I mean, I think you got yours a little lower than what it usually went for, even back then. Yeah. But that book has always been, you could get like an 8.0 copy for a little over $100, or maybe even under $100 for so long.
No.
But now all of a sudden, it's like everybody wants it because a movie was out. Well, it's you're a little too late.
I know, we're getting on to the next topic too that I talked about near the end there, but.
What else is there? Another want list book that you really aside from those 3 ECs, one more that you are really looking forward to making possible this year?
Well, I mean, I have what I call my gold chip books, and I already have a couple of them.
What's the difference between a gold chip and a blue chip?
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant blue chip.
Well, okay, what is a blue chip?
A blue chip typically is a universally recognized book, like the book behind me.
Yes,
that's a blue chip book.
Okay.
It's a first appearance. It's a Silver Age. It's highly sought after. It just has so much going for it. It's a #1.
We'll talk about that in a moment too.
Yeah. What's that?
We'll talk about that book in a
We'll
moment.
talk about that in a moment too. You're right. Amazing Fantasy 15, Fantastic Four 1, Tales of Suspense 39, Journey into Mystery 83. All of those books. I would consider those all blue chip books. I would put Avengers 1 in there too. I know a lot of people don't consider that.
It probably is.
It's high a book, but I would put that in there, and I'd put Spider-Man 1 in there. I know it's a second appearance, but I just think that's a blue chip book. And then you got lesser tiers, but surely, the first appearance of Silver Surfer and Galactus, Fantastic Four 48. I do think that's really kind of in that. Not quite as high, maybe. And then you have other lower ones too, like Daredevil 1, books like that.
What about Strange Tales 110?
Yeah, no, I would put that in there. And you have like Showcase 4, Showcase 22. For sure, those are. And then you have books that are just ridiculous. Action 1, Batman 1, Detective 27. Those are books that are just they're beyond.
Those are gold chip books.
Yeah. I mean, then you have a Grail, and for you, to me, you can only have one. You have one Grail, and it's a lot of times it's a personal thing. It's typically a blue chip book, but it's not always. And maybe someone's Grail is, I don't know,
Sleepwalker 1.
Well, nothing that low, but maybe something like Dwarf by Night 32. Maybe they're a huge Moon Knight fan, and that's their Grail book, and they're gonna have to spend $2,000 to get a really nice copy of it.
Yeah, so, I've seen a couple right now. 8.0 sell for like around maybe 1,200.
Yeah,
a little less.
In DC, I think a lot of times doesn't seem to have as many what I would call blue chip books because they weren't as big in the Silver Age as Marvel was.
All their big. Yeah, all of those big titles that they have are just out of reach for people.
Yeah.
Like first Wonder Woman, first Batman, first Superman, first Lex Luthor, first Joker first Origin. I mean, you can't get it. First Solomon Grundy. You can't get them.
No, I mean, they're crazy expensive. First Scarecrow. I mean, all of those books, they're huge. They're huge books.
The Riddler has really taken off in the last year.
Yeah.
That's another one that's just like getting so out of hand.
Yeah.
With pricing.
Yeah.
As for now X-Men #1.
Yeah.
Back there. Again, that's another book that was always expensive, but within the last, I would say 9 months, 10 months, it just took off like a rocket.
Your timing on it was perfect.
I know.
When you got yours, I mean, it was literally days after you got that book. Just
sort of like with your ASM 101. It was I had a copy for a few years, then I sold it to get the AF 15, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll always get X-Men #1.
I can get that. I know it's a $2,000 book. I can get it anytime I want.
And then I got it, and then the next day it was no longer a $2,000.
No, it was a $3,500 book, and
so. I mean, I know a lot of people want that one now, and it's just one of those things that's just taken off. It's a 2.0. I mean, I have a 3, so I don't have a high grade by any stretch.
For me, the blue chip 3.0 is perfect to collect. If I'm going to get an Amazing Fantasy, I'd like the 2.0 to a 3.0.
Yeah.
I mean, any more than you buy a 4.0, I mean, you're going to be over 20 grand for something,
and sometimes those don't work out financially. I mean, not just spending the money, but I mean, like when it comes to investment.
That book has softened a little bit. I mean, if you look at number 1,
always do.
I mean, it was over 20 grand for a 3.0, right? Last year around that time. Now it's regularly probably around 18.
That's probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. So, it has softened a little bit, but it always gets a little bump when the movies come out. So
it gets a bump, then it softens, bump and softens. But no matter what the case is, Amazing Fantasy is always going to be out of reach.
Yeah.
It's now it's measurable on how out of reach it'll be.
Yeah, it's a big book. It's a big book for sure. I think even casual collectors recognize that that's a big book.
Yeah. So, okay, very cool. So like I was saying, X-Men #1 now is just one of those that's really taken off, and there hasn't been anything with it yet. I mean, there's always everyone's wondering what the next move is with the X-Men, and once that comes out, it's just going to be.
That is another book that's on my list, is Giant Size 1, and I can say from last fall to now, You could get a nice 8.0 back in the fall, probably for 1,500.
Well, how much is it now?
Oh, it's well over $2,000
Yeah.
for an 8.0 now. It's probably closer to $3,000 at this point, and I'm not willing to spend that. So I do like to collect 7.0s anyway, so I probably fall back. That'll be my fallback plan.
Yeah, I have a 6.5. I have a 6.5.
Yeah,
I
that
bought
would be
that
smart.
years ago though too, and I paid like maybe $350 for it.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I have Fantastic 448. It's a 6.5. It's fine for me. I don't. It's a beautiful 6.5.
6.5. What is that? 1,500 now?
Probably, yeah, maybe a little more actually.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I know. You know, the guy from New Force, Rick Watlock, said something once. It's really stuck with me. Is when he sells books, sometimes he thinks about how much he's going to have to pay to get it back. And the thing he always says is, "Well, I can't buy it for that much." You know, if someone makes him an offer, I've heard him say that 100 times, and you know, I get it because you know, he had a whole stack of Tales of Suspense 39s. I don't know if you remember. He had probably a dozen of them, and I heard crazy offers, and he's like, "I can't even buy it for that. I'm not going to sell it for that."
Yeah, that's true.
Which kind of makes sense because he's in the business of selling comics. If he has no inventory, he's out of business. So, yeah. So what's next on our list?
All right. Let's see. Have you read any of your favorite books from the past recently?
And indirectly, you're to blame for this.
I'm usually the blame for something.
So that awesome Avengers book you got me for my birthday, you know, I read it cover to cover, and then I read it again. You know, it's been like my coffee book since I've gotten it every morning. I go through it. So I got to the 70s, and I ran across the story arc, the Avengers Defenders War. Oh. And I just so happened to have the hardback trade of it. Well, it's pretty cool. Iron Man beating the crap out of Hawkeye. So I got it out, and I read this, and that was to my second point in there. Have you read one of your old favorite classic stories before? And then
realize it's not so. Not
the
what you remember.
hadn't. And I use this all the time, this example all the time. Lost Boys is the perfect way to illustrate this. I remember when Lost Boys came out, I thought it was the coolest thing. I wanted to be hanging out there, even though you might get killed by a vampire. I just thought those guys looked like they were having such fun, and there was no parental. Because when I saw the movie, I think it was probably 17 or so. It just looked like the coolest damn thing. And then I saw the movie much later, say 20 years later, and it's not cool anymore.
No.
So, don't watch Lost Boys, everybody. To me, it did not hold up. I thought it was terrible. And it kind of made me sad. And reading that made me feel the same way. There's some decent action sequences in it, and I love the art because it's Sal Buscema and John Buscema. There's some really great artwork in there, but the story itself and the way that Loki and Dormammu interact with each other, and how the whole idea of the whole thing is just, it's definitely was written for someone that was 10 years old, I think. Sorry for anybody if I'm ruining your story, but if you haven't read that book, go back and read that book. And although I will say this, if they do end up bringing the Defenders into the MCU, and this got me thinking about that next topic, if they cleaned up the story and made it good, because if you read the original Infinity Gauntlet, it's not that great a story. If you read,
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, but it wasn't like this movie. If they go ahead and they give that the film treatment, that could be a fantastic story.
Yeah, I mean, if it does get any of these get a film treatment within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I would assume they'd clean up a lot of the, stuff that really doesn't translate so well, or just kind of corny to begin with. Like we were talking about last week with The Watchmen. You know, the movie ending was better than what they had in the comic book.
Oh, by far. Yeah.
I mean, and it was, what was in the comic book worked back then, but it's just not going to work in 2009 or 2008, whatever that movie came out.
Thankfully, there's no female version of Thanos. I don't know if you remember that whole thing where he created a brutish female version of himself. Anyway, thankfully that didn't happen. Yeah, so I thought of that one. I did read another one, though, not that long, right before Christmas. I read it. It's Project Pegasus, and it's the 2-in-1 series. It's George Perez and John Byrne. I still enjoyed that. I thought it held up pretty good. And that would be another one that I think would be a great standalone thing movie. So it's just so exciting to think about these stories that they could bring to life that we all know. But getting back to the Avengers Defenders War, when you were a kid, it didn't get any better than watching the Hulk and Thor fight, and then you got one of my favorites in that series was the Vision and Silver Surfer fighting.
Mm.
It was nuts. I mean, just your little 10-year-old brain couldn't handle it that they were fighting.
It was too like
there was a volcano going off, and Scarlet Witch was gonna die in lava, and I just remembered reading it. I was all excited, and then I went back and I read this, and it's just like, it's not as good. Maybe I should drink like 6 or 7 beers and then go back and read these stories.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
When
I go back and read, and I'll give you an example of a book that you want. Tales from the Crypt 46.
Right.
The last story in that book is all wrapped up.
Oh.
And as a kid reading it, I was like, oh, okay, it's pretty interesting. But as I was reading it as an adult, within the last maybe few months or whatever it was, you pick up on the littlest things in it. The way that basically the story is about this young guy that's trying to take an old woman for her money, and she's ugly and all this stuff. And he proposes to her, and just the way he's talking, he's like, you could tell he's like about to throw up as he's proposing to her, and all the little things like that.
You didn't notice as a kid?
Oh no, I was just like, it was just like pauses or whatever. But then he's like, oh well, I want to ask you something. And the way she was drawn, like when she's in her nightgown, you see the little things, and she's just so hideous.
Yeah.
And it was drawn by Graham Ingalls.
Of course,
so,
it looked like a corpse, probably, pretty much.
She pretty much did.
Yeah.
But I found that whenever I read some of the ECs, and I read them many years ago, and I read them today, I pick up on things that they put in there for the adults that we're reading.
Well, that's kind of the flip side of what I just said then. So,
yeah, absolutely.
If anything, it may have improved for you upon a second read.
For EC, not Marvel.
Yeah.
Or DC for that matter.
I mean, that kind of brings up the other thing we're having, kind of like the book club idea we were kicking around, and you and I talk about a certain book we were going to read together and then talk about it. I'm thinking maybe if we end up doing it, we should just announce what we're going to talk about maybe a week ahead of time, give everyone a chance to read that book.
Yeah,
And then it won't be like book club that these women go to where they just drink bottles of Chardonnay and talk about their husbands.
we're
actually going to talk about the comic book.
yeah. We'll see if we could get that going.
Yeah. I think that might be kind of fun. Not quite like the old homework I used to assign, but
I told you though, like I told everybody when I was reading, even when I first started reading, I started reading the older X-Men and the older books to see the origins, see how all these characters met, and I was disappointed in those stories.
Oh, if you read Avengers 1, it's one of the silliest things you'll ever read.
Oh, I did. I mean, I haven't.
When the Hulk puts on the clown costume to try to hide from people, it's like, what? Why did he do that?
Yeah, some of the. In particular, I'll give you an example. Fantastic Four 5, when they first meet Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
He wanted them to go back in time to steal Blackbeard's treasure. Are you freaking kidding me?
That was it. That was the whole conflict of the story.
This is Dr. Doom?
Yeah. Well, even sillier than that, going back further, I read Challenges of the Unknown. They decided to get together and be superheroes simply because they survived the plane crash. Most people would say, you know what? I survived this plane crash. I'm going to live the rest of my life pretty damn safe. Not these days. No. It wasn't just luck that we survived or maybe good piloting by Ace. No. We're indestructible. We should go out and put ourselves in harm's way. We should be superheroes.
Yeah,
that was the whole complaint why they're superheroes.
Yeah, I suggest years of therapy after that, too.
Yeah.
But someone would
go back and read those Silver Age comics, especially if you read the DC Silver Age. That was complete, silly.
Although recently I read Superboy 68, the first Bizarro. I did find the story funny, in a good way, where Bizarro, he thinks, oh, this girl likes me, and it turns out she's blind.
That's kind of mean. That's like Frankenstein, actually, with the old guy, the old hermit. They were friends until the fire happened, and
the whole thing was bizarre. No one understood why people didn't like him because he looked like Frankenstein, like Superman Frankenstein. Then he met this one cute blonde girl. She's like, oh, all nice. He's like, oh, she likes me, and then she's like, blind as a bat.
Yeah, that was always the cruel joke with Alicia Masters too in The Thing. She couldn't see him.
But she could feel him though.
Yeah, even a young kid.
So no offense to anybody, but talk about rock hard. I mean,
Oh God! I was thinking more of the abrasions that would be suffering.
Talk about someone got filleted. But
Well, it
anyway.
kind of makes sense though. She was the puppet master's daughter, right? And he was a creepy pedophile, as far as I'm concerned. That one cover of
Yeah, I
Fantastic
love that.
Four, he's lurking over him.
I love that
Holy
cover.
cow. That looked
That's
just like the guy that used to try to give me Snickers bars at the playground.
Did you take them?
I did. They were delicious. They were fun guys. I had to.
Speaking of which, though, that's not on my top 10 list, but I would like to get that book.
Yeah,
FFA.
it is a cool cover. I mean,
Yeah.
it's creepy as hell.
Creepy. The colors I like.
Yeah, it is a unique color palette on that book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just for the sheer beauty of it. I would want that book.
Yeah. Jeez, we're running slow tonight. I don't think we've gone much over 25.
Oh, is it something we said?
Yeah, we're gonna have to promise more, I guess, in the promo.
All right, we'll have to go over hot books, spec books.
Oh, hot spec! Buy this book right now, and you can pay off your house.
Yes, yes. You know those books that you bought? They're worth something. Yeah,
they are.
And then you'll get a bunch of
because I'm selling them right now on eBay.
Well, last week we had about what 40.
Oh yeah. Last week, 40. We've almost hit 50 a few times. That's
what did we talk? What did we talk about last week?
Oh,
was it upgrades?
That was one of the things we talked. Maybe it was upgrades.
Maybe we should talk about upgrades again.
Well, we had a comic book guy on the thumbnail, so maybe that's tricky. Just put a Simpson character on the thumbnail.
Well, here we go. Here's the next topic.
Yeah.
With the last 15 minutes, 13 minutes, whatever it is we have.
Yeah.
The next phase in Marvel movies, that's going to be starting up very soon. It's not going to come out like we got the Avengers and Endgame coming out. It's going to be the end of this phase.
I'll be shocked if you don't get to see some kind of preview on Avengers 4, Endgame.
So what do you think? I mean, I know we touched up on this briefly, but what do you think is going to happen?
Well, obviously you're going to have all the twos are going to come out. You're going to have Black Panther 2. You're going to have Doctor Strange 2, probably. Kevin Feige maybe is pulling the biggest, hey, what's on your shirt? Gotcha in history and comics if they don't make an Eternals movie. There's part of me that would find that really funny if they end up not making an Eternals movie, that he just said that passively and now he's just watching eBay to see what happens. Oh, look what I did. I controlled the market. And
yeah, now he's happy that his 9.0 is going for some.
Yeah, no, that's this whole thing, this whole 10, 15 years, it's all Kevin Feige's been planning. I got to sell that copy. I got a 9.8 of Eternals.
But the thing is, though, I mean, okay, where do you think this is going to go? I mean,
here's the thing I think about it, and I could be wrong. Obviously, I'm not, I'm not a speculator.
Right.
I don't think it's going to have as big an impact as this last go did. I think you're going to see it isolated on certain books, but I don't think it's going to, the phrase "all the tide raises all boats." I don't think you're going to see the surge in comic books that you did. When the Avengers, this whole thing, I think because of the mass appeal of the Avengers and the characters in it, the Guardians of the Galaxy to a certain degree are a little offbeat, but the next ones that they're planning on doing, I think are going to be way offbeat compared to what people are expecting.
Well, it's also probably going to be the last one too. If they're doing with the threes, you know what I mean? Yeah. 3 Thors, 3 Iron Mans, 3 Captain Americas. Well, we're hitting the 3rd Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe that arc is going to end. Or continue into another realm. Yeah. I could see it going into Fantastic Four, to be quite honest.
Yeah, no, I totally could too. Yeah, could see that. I mean, you could have characters like Nova reinvigorate that franchise too.
But here, though, raise the next question: what you said about it's not going to be as big, and you might be very right on that. You don't think they're going to try to build up the X-Men by having Wolverine separate movies and all that stuff, trying to tie it all?
They kind of did that, and I think that the Logan movie was so good to a certain extent, as it was as good as the others were bad. That I don't know that they want to monkey with that. They don't want to retell that story, I think.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know how much.
I wouldn't be surprised if when the first X movie there is no Wolverine in it. I wouldn't be surprised if they went with the people over my shoulder here and they started from square one.
I mentioned this before. I even made a video. I think they should go with giant size. Start with giant size. already have those characters established.
I think that'd be great because then you have the original Silver Age characters getting rescued by the Bronze
And you
Age
could
characters.
introduce them in different types of movies, whether they're main X-Men movies or spin-offs, add to their stories, just the way that we did with Avengers. But I think a good spot, I think a lot of people want to see Cyclops as the leader. And I do think people want to see Wolverine and Storm and characters like that. And if they want to go cosmic, Starjammers for some plot device.
Well, if you remember, way back, as early as like '94, Professor X was having dreams of the Shi'ar Queen there, Andrea, and you could just sprinkle that in. I think that would be really, really great. Like I said, I think I commented on your video. I'm totally going to dress like Eric DeRed at the first picnic that I'm invited to this summer.
Yeah, God, Eric DeRed.
Quite a get up he's got going there.
Yeah, he looks utterly ridiculous.
Almost the only one that's maybe worse than it is Killraven. Killraven's blue high, bare legs is just freaking bizarre design as I think I've seen.
Well, that's what they did with Colossus. Like he would have the steel legs because they wanted to.
Oh yeah, and then steel legs it worked, but once he went back to pasty white Pete, it didn't work.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense. Originally, he had blue pants on, and they made the excuse that all the molecules in his costume are unstable. I'm like, that's
they all use that. Reed Richards just like he's got this giant unstable factory going with this big weave loom going. He's making unstable molecules. Clothing for everybody. It's you pick it out.
This is unstable. Here, wear it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. What does that mean? It just fine. I think it's better if you don't know, just don't try to explain it. But I think you're right. I think that would be great. I think Giant Size would be a great one because, then you think about the sequel, they could roll right into '94 and they could have that major conflict by killing off Thunderbird.
That would be great. I mean, it really would be. I mean, I also want to see different enemies. I mean, the sky's the limit with X.
It's really great. I like the Sauron character. I like the Savage Land. You could see Khazar, and if that went well, then he could get his own thing. And I do think they're going to do a lot of things where if you'll see supporting characters in movies, I think Disney's going to spin them off into their own TV show. And you'll have that kind of connectivity. I don't see, street level characters making their way up to the big screen then. I think it'll trickle the other way.
But with all this talk about what could be, what might be, what will be, and all that stuff, do you think this is just like too much?
You're thinking like saturation?
Yeah.
I know this is the only thing about that though is every year you got a whole new crop of 13, 14-year-old boys or that gobble the stuff up with a spoon. So I don't know. I know I'll go see them if they're of the same quality. I definitely will go see them. I think that's the biggest thing, and to have one guy, Feige running this, one guy steering this ship, and I think that's why the consistency has been so good. If you think of the DC movies, that's what's missing in that. I mean, there are moments of all the DC movies. It's just really easy to say, oh, they suck. People just say that, but there are parts of those movies that weren't awful. Most of them, not all of them. Some of them were pretty. I mean, Green Lantern, I don't think there's any redeeming value in Green Lantern.
Yeah, that had no redeeming value.
Complete garbage. So it's kind of funny, but I do think having one guy run, and hopefully he's on board for that. You never know, though. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, it's going to be an interesting. I think at the end of Endgame, it's just going to be just as interesting as watching the whole movie.
Yeah,
just to see what happens next and have an idea of where this is going to go. Now that they can use Silver Surfer, now that they could use all these characters, they could put them in post-credit scenes all they want now.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised that too. I was thinking about that. What character could they do easily that would have that? I mean, they could show Silver Surfer streaking across the sky pretty easily in CG. They wouldn't even have to cast somebody. They could just do that in a computer lab.
But think of it this way, though, Patrick. I mean, last year, that's when this deal went through.
Yep.
You don't think that they maybe knew that this was going to work out at a certain timetable where they could possibly put in a scene where it would be legally okay to put in a scene?
Yeah, but they could always film it knowing that down the road it was going to be.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, you think they really had no idea that March 20th was going to be, or around that time? Like, we had no idea.
And a lot of the internet screamers on there to talk about this speculation stuff. They point out to the one scene where you see Nick Fury, and over his shoulder you see Atlantis on the map. So obviously that Submariner probably at some point is going to come through. I don't think you're going to see him have his own movie now with the success of Aquaman.
Well, yeah, it's almost like having Darkseid now.
Yeah, I think if he appeared, he'd show up like in Doctor Strange 2, something like that.
Yeah, it would appear strange that you have to.
And I mean, you think of right now the way the Hulk is, he's kind of on the outs with the Avengers anyway. So maybe at the end of this, he leaves with Doctor Strange, and then Namor shows up, and then that's a whole adventure. I think you could easily see that.
Yeah,
I can't wait though. If they can get Ben Grimm right, I would love it, because as a Bronze Age,
they're gonna have to. They're gonna have to.
I'd love. I mean, and they got to do it right. I mean, they got to get his lingo down and the stuff he says. And yes, I know it's cliche and corny, but I can't wait to hear him say it's clobbering time for real.
He's gonna. If he does, he's gonna show up. Obviously, I do think there's gonna be a line where somewhere he says it's clobbering.
Casting. They got to get the casting right.
Well, who do you think right now would play a good Ben Grimm?
Well, the guy that I wanted it's going to be too late now, and he's the sheriff from Stranger Things, and he's playing Hellboy. But I think he would have been a fantastic Ben Grimm.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I can't see them doing that now because it's too similar. I think. They got to really get a good Reed Richards, obviously. Sue Storm, they got to nail it. I mean, they have to do it as good as the Avengers and the rest of these MCU movies have done it. I think that's the scripts have been good, but I think probably the strongest part of these movies is the people that have gotten to play these roles. I mean, getting Cumberbatch to play Doctor Strange, to get
he looks just like him.
He looks just like him, and he's got that snob kind of prickishness about him. And Tony Stark, whether you like Robert Downey, or not, I think he's great. Helmsworth, I mean, all of them. I think they did well. Mark Ruffalo, I could take or leave.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you. Well, okay, which character do you not like? What actor?
Well, I don't like Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye at all. I think he's awful.
Well, I think Jeremy Renner, he has no presence on screen. There's something missing with him. I don't mind the character, but every time he's on screen, it's like something's just not there.
Yeah, it feels forced.
Yeah.
And I would have much rather seen Scarlett Johansson be the Scarlet Witch. But
well, I think I think Scarlett Johansson did a pretty good job as Black Widow.
I would say like someone
I don't like the blonde hair.
I would have thought as the Black Widow more.
Who?
Charlize Theron, or however the hell you say her name. Charlize.
Oh, okay,
yeah. I always thought of Black Widow's taller and more lanky, angular kind of a person. Not so
not as buxom as
and Scarlet Witch always was. I mean, she always basically was in a bathing suit and a cape.
Talk about stupid ass costume.
No, the worst ever is Tigra. She's runs around just because she's got fur, she runs around in a bikini. Right? That's a bikini.
Yeah, some of these costumes, they're kind of half baked.
Well, I hope the hell they never bring Tiger to the screen. That would be one of the worst things ever. There's just certain characters they just can't bring. You just can't do that.
There's quite a few of them.
You just think of how many characters they have. This thing could go on forever.
Well, I think for Doctor Strange too, there are rumors that they want to bring Nightmare.
Oh.
Which makes sense, but I don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we've seen the last of Dormammu.
No, and I think Clea is a very important character in that world.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, I like the psychedelic aspect of Doctor Strange.
I do too.
And that was another one. We talked about stories that we read years ago, if they were corny or whatever. I read the first appearance of Doctor Strange, and I love that story because it's creepy.
Yeah,
it has like a darkness to it.
It has an EC feel to it.
Yes, the rainy night, and you're going into dreams, and there's this thing inside your dreams that's manipulating you, causing you to do this or do that, and it's Nightmare. That is fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think the Frank Bruner run too still holds up too. I read some of those. I've gone back and read them. Obviously, the Ditko stuff was crazy, fantastical.
Yeah, he was something else. Ditko.
Yeah, I mean the scapes that he drew were just they were crazy. So
yeah, they were just like bizarre. You would think that he was on like LSD, but he wasn't.
Oh,
he was a very straight laced kind of guy, straight and narrow type of guy. Steve Ditko.
No, yeah. I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think if it does cause some of the fervor that this has caused as far as speculation, I think it'll be very focused on particular books like that, like Giant Size, like the Fantastic Four one.
Well, I think a lot of people are doing that now, but I
Yeah,
think also a lot of people are realizing they missed the boat.
they missed it, but that already they can't get in.
That ship, a lot. I mean, I say that not to be mean or anything, because I certainly missed the boat on many things. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking that some of them, like like I was saying before, like a 2.0 X-Men is in the neighborhood of close to $3,000 now.
Yeah.
And people, some people don't want a 2.0, and I can
Yeah, it
understand
takes the
that.
fun out of it. It does take the fun out of the hobby to a certain degree.
Yeah, but I think the boat has sailed for a lot. That's just
No,
my
I agree.
opinion.
I agree. So save up and get your books now before that all happens. Because now then you get the other side of this topic. What happens to all these books that just had these meteoric rises, and now there aren't going to be any more Avengers movies for quite a while, and Thor's done, and Iron Man's done, and Captain America's probably done. Do those books all settle down now?
I'm hoping that Iron Man 55 does, because I'd like to get another copy of that. I sold my copy over a year ago, but I'd like to get a 6.0. I'd be happy with a 6. But I don't want to pay what it's going for right now.
I don't think it's going to go back to what it was pre 2008, obviously.
No, I don't think so, no.
I do think you're going to see a little bit of a dip, but it's not going to go away. I don't think. I think these books now are, they're more in the public eye than they ever were before these movies, for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, when you see these things getting mentioned on the nightly news, and that, or Forbes has an article, anytime that happens, these things get stupid. You get all these people that have nothing to do with comic books just throwing money.
That's true, though. That's as silly as that sounds, it's true.
Yeah.
Well, it is 8:01, everybody.
Yes.
I'd like to thank you all for joining us this week. And remember, if you have any questions for either of us that you'd like to see on the show, you can either contact me or Patrick.
Yes.
You could find me on Facebook if you don't know my email. You can send me it.
Let me know. I have a new microphone on tonight, so I think it vastly improves audio. I hope.
I need a new microphone. I will work on getting one. You probably won't hear the quality in my several videos because I filmed about a month and a half's worth of videos. So you probably, if I get a new microphone, you're not going to hear that quality till maybe about August.
No.
So bear with me, everybody.
I've done a lot with lighting, and I have some other stuff, some software that I'm monkeying around with. So hopefully these things all work out. I can't wait. Doors were going up, trim's going up today. The bathroom's almost done downstairs. So we're getting close. I can't wait to have an area where I can have all my stuff, all my comics, all my books, my press, my cleaning stuff, all my records, some of my figurines and stuff that I have. I can't wait to get it all out again. It's going to be great. It's nice to be able to set something and then you can just walk away and then come back to it later.
Mm-hmm.
Where now if I'm doing something, I have to take it all apart and then put it away, and then come back again. I can't have a comic press and a cleaning station and all this stuff set up. And companies come over there and be like, "What the hell's going on? Is he making money? What's going on in here?"
Well, in any event, thank you all for tuning in.
Yes. If you have questions, let us know. You know the saying: life, liberty, and the pursuit of comic books. And keep reading, but don't read the old classics because you might be sad. Thank you, everyone. Night.
So long. Bye.